What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video with your boy Thick Whips. Today we are doing the P3 gauge modification in the F30. I actually had this exact same vent gauge on the F87 M2. I loved it, so I went for it again. This one I got from Keys Motorsports. I will have it linked down below. I'm gonna show you guys how to install it. It's really easy. All right, huge shout out to these guys for sending this out. This is the P3 gauge that takes over one of your vents. So you can actually buy this with or without the OEM vent. I just went ahead and bought the full package, so everything that you could get with the OEM vent. When I bought the M2 one, I actually just bought it without the vent and did the install myself. But this time around, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna buy the entire thing. It makes everything a lot easier and I don't risk breaking anything. But of course, you guys can order it whichever way you want. This is, of course, the vent and everything you need to install it. It's really easy to take the old one out. I'm gonna show you how to do it. Here is the wiring harness. Here is the control module box. Be a little sticker here. And then, of course, the guide to show you how to install everything and what goes where. It's pretty straightforward. I believe I opted for the one with the white text, but you can get it with orange text as well. So the most important part, the actual functions and features of this gauge. This is pretty cool. It's gonna give you boost, it's gonna give you air to fuel ratio, it can read and clear DTCs, can give you exhaust gas temperature, raw vehicle speed, RPM shift light, battery voltage, coolant temperature, acceleration, braking timers, your IATs, and your throttle position. I think mostly we're gonna be using boost on this, and having all of this functionality integrated directly into a vent just looks really, really clean, very, very OEM plus. I think it's a very useful and simple modification that you guys can add onto your cars. So in order to install this, we're gonna go ahead and open up the door. And we're gonna take out this vent piece right here. Now this whole thing actually just comes right out. Just get yourself a trim tool and then you'll be able to pop this entire piece out, and we're gonna be replacing this entire piece with the vent gauge. So let's get into it. Also, I think I've decided to keep this raw carbon. I know I was talking about painting it and leaving some of it exposed, but I just kept looking at it and I'm like, man, it looks really good. Like when you see the whole car, it looks really good in fully exposed carbon. I also made a bit of an executive decision with my alternative wheels, which I'm sure a lot of you will like, getting the 437Ms powder coated in all gloss black. I looked at old photos of the M2 when I had all gloss black 437Ms on that car, and it just looked so good. So I was like, okay, I like these wheels, but it's always nice to have alternatives. If I'm gonna run an alternative set, I have the 437s in the garage ready to go. I'm just gonna paint them all black. So I have a panda theme for this car as well as the bronze setup. But nonetheless, let's get into this install. Grab ourselves a little trim tool here. You know, take this one right here. This should do the job. Just pop that out. It's gonna be a lot easier with two hands too. And there we go. This whole thing pops right out. So now what we're gonna do is disconnect the actual vent portion from the trim, and then we're gonna put this entire thing into this trim. And then for wiring, it's gonna be a little bit hard to see, but we're running the cables through here, and then that wiring harness and control box will actually plug directly into your OBD2 port. So you just leave it plugged in order to use the features. Obviously, if you're not using it, you can unplug it. But that is effectively how you get all of the gauge functions. It reads off of the OBD2. We are gonna use a zip tie to zip tie this down in that compartment so it's not rattling all over the place. But let's get to disassembling this and then put this one in there. So you are gonna see a bunch of little tabs down here. And then you'll see a couple right in here as well. We're actually just gonna pop these tabs out, and then it should release the entire vent from the trim piece as well. So obviously the same way it came out, same way it's going in. Line up these clips on the bottom, line up these clips on top, press in. All right, so the vent is all together, everything is good. I'm gonna leave the protective film on the gauge for right now until we install it. Go ahead and open up all of the wiring. So this is the side that is going to go into the OBD2 port right here, and then this side will actually go right into the control box. That, and then the other side that comes out from the vent is gonna plug into the other side of the control box. And so now we can actually take this all and install it into the car. We're gonna grab a zip tie just so we can sort of secure the box and some of these cables so they're not flapping around in that little compartment down there. but let's go ahead and throw it in. So this is what I think makes the most sense in terms of installing it. You're obviously gonna feed all of the cables down there, but I'm gonna shine a light under here. You can see where that light is coming through, right over here in the corner. That is where we're gonna feed the cable. So the end that plugs into the OBD2 port, we're gonna feed it right down through there. And then we will find something to zip tie the control box to, maybe that little bracket right there, or anything just to secure it, make sure that it's not rattling around. So I think that this is gonna be easier if we unplug this and go from the bottom up. So we'll actually take the part that goes into the box and just work it up from the bottom, because it's hard to get this bigger piece through that little hole. Cool, so that's the way you wanna do it. All right, got it in. Got everything zip tied behind here so it's not moving around. And last part really is just to plug in the OBD2 port. I love it, it's just so OEM. Like you don't even realize it's there. Let's fire her up and see what we got. Coolant, 84 degrees, speed, 0, battery, 14.9 volts, RPMs, RPM shift, so if you want to set a shift light, you can do that. Oil temp, 108, she's cold. She's cold, boys. It's nice to be able to see the actual digits though. On here you just have the analog gauge. On the M2 I didn't have anything, so it was really nice to have this for oil temp on the M2. IATs, 86, it's chilly. These are exhaust temperatures and ignition. Throttle, air to fuel ratios, 14.7, 0 to 60 times if you want to put it in. Boost, very nice. Why don't we go for a little cruise and see this thing in action, man? Just to make sure that all the values are working and everything is set up correctly. So that is boost right now. You can see it's reading. So nice to have that. When I get this thing actually tuned, it's just an easy way to keep track of where the boost is at. Nice, dude. Obviously she's super cold, so we're not doing anything right now. But dude, just look at how clean it looks. It's so nice to have. And it doesn't jump out at you. It's not like a big gauge sticking up in your face. Very OEM plus. I don't know, man. This is just one of those subtle things, those little subtle details that I think go a long way. Super happy with it. Just scroll through here when you're driving, right? Coolant, speed. Let's see, 41. 41, yeah. Seems accurate. I mean, it's reading off of the OBD2, so everything is going to be accurate on this. Super nice to have. Battery life for when you're coding or tuning, just so you know. RPMs, oil, 162. So yeah, I went with the white digits and then the orange bars up here. But you guys can also get it with orange digits if you like that better. It would look like a little more OEM, I guess you could say. So there you guys go, the P3 gauge install. Easy, probably took me, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes with filming. If it takes that long filming, then you know it's a really easy job. But yeah, if you don't get the OEM vent, you'll have to install that part yourself. I actually broke one of the little fins the last time I did it, and that's why I got the OEM vent with the actual gauge this time. I was like, I don't even want to bother like with dealing stuff and possibly breaking stuff. But that was just me making a dumb mistake and kind of being hasty when I was putting everything together. It's really not that difficult even without the OEM vent. Either one, you guys are gonna be just fine. But yeah, I'm really happy with it.